Hey, Greg, can you hear me?
I can you
All
hear
right.
me?
Yes, sir. Councilman Carl, I do have, Tom is present already. We are short 3 members. So we're gonna
Okay.
go ahead and start, unofficially.
Okay,
I'll pick the time to go, to meet with us, so. There, if you're set,
Hey Greg, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you? How is everyone?
We do not have quorum. We'll probably not call to order. We'll just have an informal meeting this month. And we do have Mr. Tom Lancy in attendance to discuss matters of economic development throughout the very small region of Olivet and Creve Coeur and the corridor. We can shed some light on happenings and things going on here, and we can share some ideas. So, should we dispense with the agenda or?
yeah, I don't think so. I'm gonna go
Okay.
straight to Tom and then we can
Okay.
talk a little afterwards. And of course, Tom started with the chamber in 2019. And I was fortunate to be in Creve Coeur and all of that as a
Oh,
planner.
that's right, yeah.
So
You're
it's been some vast improvements, not that the chamber was bad, but I think Tom really focused on that community outreach along with the membership too. So it's been a pleasure to work
So
with
you've been
Tom.
here for like 20 years.
Yes.
And that's, yeah, it was actually about that time I was a member of the chamber way back when,
Mhm.
probably about 20 years ago.
So-
That's my,
Your
my history.
So Tom,
Yeah.
you don't mind?
Yeah, I mean, so as you said, I started with the chamber in November of 2019, so right before COVID. So it was a good time to come in. Before that, I used to actually work in youth ministry for like 20 years. So so when it was time for a change, it took me a little bit to kind of feel it out. And it was kind of a good search time for me because it was a couple months where I came to some chamber things. And it's always been important to me to work with people and to feel like I can make a difference. I didn't want to just a desk job. And but I actually went to school for business and marketing, and that was actually why at SLU and found myself in ministry for a long time. But you obviously didn't come here to hear about me. I'm here to hear about the chamber. So obviously you can read off of our website some of these things, but just in basics, the mission of the Creve Coeur Olivet or the Olivet Chamber of Creve Coeur Olivet Chamber of Commerce is to serve as an advocate for businesses and its members. And that takes on a lot of different forms, right? One is to be the voice of the business community, of its organizations. I like to point out, like, we obviously are here, we have a large business community, but we also do have some charities and other organizations as part of the chamber as well. And they're all vital to our community and to our quality of life, right? So, but with that, you know, it's important for us to have a good relationship with the cities, so that we can share what's going on within the chamber and our business members, but also to hear what you all are working on and how we can collaborate to continue to move forward. And it's been a blessing the past couple of years I feel like we have a really good relationship where doors are open and we can call each other and talk about different things. And I always appreciate Barb or Carlos coming to our board meetings and giving us updates on what's going on in Olivet. And as a reference point, we have obviously a lot of different committees in our chamber, and we combined one of our committees this year to be the Government and Communications Committee. And Kurt Kinney is the chair of that committee. He is with Alliance Corporate. Just as a reference for you all, because he's new in that role and he's planning on connecting with Carlos and seeing how we can continue to work together in that role. Because as in our time here, we've done different things. We've kind of brought back the forum before at one of our luncheons before elections. We've done a meet and greet with candidates or the council members as a way to just, when it wasn't a big election, you know, when it wasn't a lot of contested elections, but it was a good way to kind of get people together to meet and to talk. And we continue to collaborate to figure out good ways for us to have the businesses interact with its officials. obviously a big part of being an advocate is providing networking opportunities. People obviously want to network. And after COVID, it was even more relevant, right? People forgot how to connect in some ways outside of Zoom. And so that's why I think we've had a steady flow of new membership every month since 2021, that January. People were just trying to find outlets to connect. As of right now, we are at 357 members in our chamber. As I gave Carlos a list of people just in the out of that zip code, which encompasses, also St. Louis County and a few Creve Coeur businesses. So I'm not exactly sure on the exact number of Olivet. It could be 50 or whatever, but it's, but I know there was like 68 businesses in that zip code. Well, there's definitely been a lot of newer businesses developing, like home health care and that sort of thing. But we still continue to have, regular retail like Firestone that opened up and that sort of thing. So, and there's obviously a lot of development that's still in process on both Olivet side and Creve Coeur side. But yes, you're definitely going to see those new entrepreneurial working from home for a little bit and businesses, but also still people like looking to open up offices. So I apologize if I don't have the complete breakdown of all that. But just to kind of run down a few of the things that we've done to kind of increase networking opportunities. We have 3 different networking groups that are industry specific. So the reason why we did it that way, and we've had 3 of them, is, and we'll continue to add to them as need arises. It allows like to have a good collaboration of different industries together in the same room, build contacts, build referrals. So you don't have like 5 realtors in one room. You have, you don't have 5 insurance agents, you have one of each. And so it's kind of a good, creates a nice variety. But also some consistency, but they only meet once a month because it allows them to do other things, have one-on-ones and go to other chamber events or attend to their other business responsibilities. And then we have lots of different social networking opportunities with after hours or coffee connections and those sort of things. One thing we just started, I'm really curious of how it's going to go, is we started this hiring huddle, and it's meant to be a collaboration between business owners, recruiters, HR offices to just try to help people staff locally, because sometimes businesses will meet with somebody and they think they're a great guy, but they're not the right fit for them, but they might be fit for somebody else. So let's get in the same room and see who we can help. And I'm all about not inventing the wheel and utilizing people who know what they're doing. So we also have members that are in that industry. So like one of them is a Job Seekers. It's a nonprofit and for helping people find work. And so I know they do happy hours. So we're going to hopefully collaborate with them and, way to take these recruiters and put them in faces of people looking for jobs, that sort of thing. We obviously have a number of committees in the chamber as well. Obviously, besides the government committee, we have our membership and our events committee and a lot of subcommittees that come out of those events. And also too, one thing I try to do as well, and I try to encourage our ambassadors to do, is you meet with a member, see what they're hoping to get out of the chamber, who they're looking to connect with. Because sometimes it's just a matter of, it shouldn't be so hard to connect them with the person they want to meet, so because just because they belong to other chambers, sometimes they haven't got that experience. So, so I have a gentleman who I met with the other day, and he just joined, and I already connected with some of the gyms that are in the area, because he wants to provide some free service that can make them both money. So let's get them together and see how that works. Obviously, if it's not a money generator for him, he's not going to be doing it. But and then obviously a referral business, we're going to refer chamber members, obviously, first and foremost. Our website has also been developed since I've been there. It used to be pretty static. Now it's a lot more interactive. There's more life to it. I try to make sure we have lots of pictures as well, because businesses aren't buildings, they're people. They're run by people. So I try to highlight them. I've even created like blogs to highlight ribbon cuttings and different events that go out throughout the year. It's also a good history, so people can look back and see what happened this past month. There's also a job board on there, so I want to remind people that they can post for free their jobs. There's not only our events on the calendar, but members can post their events on there as well. They also can create their own marketing pages. We even have a premium service if they want that built out for them, and has a texting app to it and all that. But I don't make it a mandatory thing because I like to keep those costs down. Another reason people join chambers is the chamber benefit plan. And I gave Carlos a flyer on that. It's really designed for anybody who has a business between 2 and 50 employees. So for small business owners, sometimes we have members that join simply for that reason. I don't even see them. They just joined because they wanted the insurance. I don't want them to do that, but it's a great benefit for those that qualify. And it's something that we belong to as a part of the Missouri Chamber. So we also provide people obviously a lot of ways to increase their visibility. Most people probably think of like the ribbon cutting grand opening, which we don't charge our members for that. Some people do. With that event, obviously I'll get them a photographer. I connect them. I try to invite the mayor and send out blast emails and social media and all that stuff. That's all free for them. We do about 7 large events a year, which is more than we've ever used to do. So like every other month, you could probably expect us to have an event, from the one coming up where we honor our police and firefighters of the year for Olivet, Shreveport, and St. Louis County, which is also a special event for me. I really was excited that we did this event. My dad is also a member on the Backstoppers. So, I always want to honor our first responders for the work that they do, especially in a society that sometimes doesn't appreciate it. Even though I think we're lucky to live in cities that do appreciate it, but not in every city. We also have 2 golf tournaments. We do game night. We have a trivia night. We've brought rock and roll bingo in. So there's a lot of different types of events for people to participate in. We brought in, and then lots of just regular events that people can highlight their business, like our coffee connections usually travel to other businesses. Our business after hours that they could host. Our luncheons, people can also sponsor their luncheons to highlight their business. We give them time up front. And obviously like our directories online, and as well as the community directories, which I started to do last year, and we'll be printing out another one come April. So they'll probably be contacting you guys about what you would like to put in, like you did last time, which I think is awesome, because some people actually think print is dead, but I don't think it is. For these type of things, especially when people now work from home with COVID a lot, that they can, I shouldn't say like everyone works from home, but certain people have learned to work from home. And so it's a nice resource guide and it gets mailed to every resident and every business in Olivet, Shreveport, and all its members. And obviously a lot of members also just join to be a good citizen, like Bear and Mercy and some of the bigger corporations. And also a lot of businesses will join because it builds credibility to their business. There was a study shown that like when customers know that a business is a member of the chamber, they are 44% more likely to think favorably about it and 63% more likely to purchase from the business. And also, obviously, members will provide discounts for each other as well. So like, for instance, like if I go down to the post, they'll always give me a chamber discount. People just let them know they're part of the chamber. And that's one of the things that I like to do a better job of surveying our members and trying to compile that for everyone. Some people don't know too, we give charity discounts. So if you're a charity, your first year you join, I take 25% off your membership, and I'll do an additional 15% off every year after that. Unless you're run solely by volunteers, then there's just a set cost of $110. I know all of our chambers all our charities that belong to the chamber really benefit from that. Another networking thing that I didn't mention is we also are kind of sponsor or host like the VetNet Connect meetings, which is it's a networking event to help anybody who cares about veterans. So one of our charities is the Kaufman Fund, and they basically kind of run it, but our chamber and the Creve Coeur Pear Chamber, we kind of help promote it in our chambers and invite people into it. And it's really grown as well, because it's not open, it's open to anyone to attend who cares about veterans. You don't have to be a veteran, just as an FYI. With that, we continue to add new things as we find the need. So we used to just do our new member breakfasts twice a year. Now we've started to add new member orientations, which isn't even in that calendar I handed you. We just had our first one last month, and we'll be starting to do more of those as well. So we can sit down in a more intimate group of members and really see like what they're hoping to get out of the chamber, how we can answer questions and how we can help them and connect them with the right people. Yeah, so I just kind of blabbered on for a little bit on all of this. And but I'm really excited about, I didn't it's amazing to think it's been 3 years since I've been here. I didn't really think how long I've been here. And yeah, I'll tell you, my first year, I never worked so hard because when COVID hit, all I could do was, we were busy because we took that time to just stop and check on all of our members. So all of our members should have gotten a phone call or an email or whatever from us throughout that time, just to make sure that they know that we're here to help them, try to provide all the resources that were coming out through the counties and cities for resources and all that. And I never expected any members to, get new ones at that time. But we made it through that. And I think the value has been added. And that's been my main thing. I always wanted to add value to the chamber, because that's when we retain people, right? So I think last year we added about 72 new members, and our retention rate was about 85–86%, which for a membership organization is really good. So I'm really proud of that, because obviously not everyone can stay in business for whatever reason that may be. They may move, they might have went closed, or they just for some reason never participated, and so they didn't feel the need to continue. But and I always try to keep an open mind too, open door to all the members. If they ever want to talk to me, I'm always open to starting a new meeting, event, or change or alter those things, which is probably why we have a bunch more meetings every month and new bigger events throughout the year, which has kept me pretty busy. So, and yeah, so I kind of just flew through those. So I don't know if it's a good stopping point to just see if you guys have any particular questions for me. Obviously, we have other ways to advertise with that as well, like through the emails or a digital billboard, that sort of thing.
Did you turn your mic on?
So it's Olivet Creve Coeur. People
Yeah.
in the crowd couldn't hear me. You're right. I should turn it on.
Yeah, so
So are you given a structure? Can you take over Ladue as well? Is it like annual orders? Like how is it all carved into pieces?
well, we've kind of probably stayed more traditional. I mean, we're Olivet Creve Coeur is our main focus of our chamber. Now, does that mean that other people can't join? We definitely get people from outside of Creve Coeur and Olivet and that join our chamber, like U City and Overland, but even people out in Chesterfield or whatever, because they want to do business with people here. Right. So, and if they want to do business here, then more power to them. I want them here then. I mean, I know one of my members belongs to 12 chambers because he sees the benefit in it. But the Missouri chamber obviously is a bigger chamber. We are a member of that. And you will find, at least I've found, a lot of chambers can have a different focus depending on their region and, how they're, and how they're structured. So obviously the Missouri Chamber is going to be a broader focus. They're going to be focused more on the Senate and the state as a whole, and how they can provide jobs for the state. Where we're going to be a little bit more locally focused on what's going on here. Because they probably wouldn't, have the same connections that we would have. So, and some chambers are kind of in a region. They place themselves in a region for a purpose, like, and maybe they're not as connected with the cities, but they're connected with just trying to coverage of businesses and, and try to honor that area. That's always the trick, is if you can really, I think, find the flavor of your city and really honor that.
And like
And
years ago, I think, who was the gal who was in charge of it? Years ago, Vi
Smith was a director at one point, and then after her was Nancy, I believe.
And I think at that time, it used to be fairly political because they used to take bus trips down to Jeff City. I remember, and, just lobby for whatever we needed. I don't know what it was
Right.
really, but yeah, it was, but you're more locally focused now than that is what you're saying.
Well, what I would say is that we're trying to just be attuned to what the needs of our community are. So sometimes that has to do with the broader state, that we're gonna want to know what's going on, but you talk about leadership plays a role in that, and that's definitely true. When Vi was in charge of the chamber, I know that they were heavily involved in politics and, speaking out at different committees. And Nancy kind of had a complete opposite take on it, and she really didn't do much of anything with it, and was more focused on the events and the networking groups. And I have tried to just bring it back to a more of a balance,
Sure, yeah.
I'm still learning too. So that's part of it. I would like to create a little bit more vigor system of surveying our members on a lot of these issues, so that we know.
I guess right now it's like you have, well, we, at the Olivet, City of Olivet's been a member for a long time, I guess, obviously Freeport's been a member. So you get that back and forth as to kind of what's happening, what the city wants to do, how that's going to affect business and stuff. And how do you sort of manifest that? And, you're kind of a guy in the know who's sort of, you're kind of a point of contact for a lot of different people for developments, events, that sort of thing. Is there anything, cooking that we don't know about? Because there's a lot happening here. I guess that
Right.
we can go to the chamber and talk about what's happening here.
Right. And we have actually, like we had,
Like one thing is like, I know like Fresh Market closed years ago in a
from
City
City Place,
Place.
yes.
and it hasn't been, set up as a grocery store, but nothing's come in there at all.
Right. And I know there's been some talk to actually bring a bank in there and put a drive-through right through it.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's gonna happen or not. Yeah, there's definitely, and Carlos and sometimes hears some of these developments as well at our meetings. Like down, like, Friday's closed, and I think that one's gonna be like a Chick-fil-A.
Was it
Is-
really?
Yeah, so and that's been one of the things that, city, like before, was asking for feedback on, because they knew that they had tight restrictions on drive-throughs and different things. And so they went back to revisit that,
There's been a few things. There's been
and then I've,
the corner of what is that? Mostly Grazer and Olive.
Mhm.
There was a lawsuit on that with
yeah, with Quick Trip.
with people not wanting it, and I think the city won that.
Yeah,
They
the
had-
city one.
so-
It went to the Supreme Court.
Well,
yeah.
what's happening with the property there?
Well, I'm not sure now.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a that was a long process, that, debate, because Quick Trip was willing to put a lot into that whole area.
It's actually,
Um,
actually interesting because you say, because it was like the city that actually defended itself against the developer. Right?
Correct. Yeah,
And-
because the people of the neighborhood didn't want it.
Right, and you support the people basically, or the city support the people, you're not the government, you're the, yeah. So, and then there's the other one too, which was the hotel, which is the old HOK building. Probably before your time. And they tried to turn that, the large, it's probably a 6-story building, which is mostly vacant, I think. Into a hotel, and I guess the citizens got together and voted that down too. Or got the city to vote it down through council. But probably before your time.
Yeah.
I mean, that was probably like 16, 17, maybe back in 15.
Yep.
Interesting, like, did the developers in that, did they come to you at all for your opinion on this, or?
I didn't get the calls for that. I did get a call from someone from Quick Trip when they were going through that. And, recently with one of the dispensaries here and all of that. But sometimes it's not me that they call. And sometimes they connect with maybe one of my board members. So like one of my board members is on the Economic Development Committee for Creve Coeur. So sometimes, he keeps me in the know, or I can, forward some of those conversations towards him. But I'd love to try to be better about those updates with people. Like when Greg Yowitz was working on the development here, I mean, we invited him to come and share those plans with the chamber at one of our luncheons. And I know that people are pretty excited about that. You had to hear what was going on.
Yeah. There's a lot happening. I mean, it's good to have another voice for business.
Yeah, and I guess that's the other thing, is to let them know that, they can come to us and that we're gonna do something with that information. And sometimes it's changing perceptions of people because, I don't know what it was before me, like maybe they didn't.
Actually, it's interesting because I think the corner of Lindbergh and Ladue, is that Creve Coeur? I think it is Creve Coeur. Because there's a dispensary there.
Yeah,
Or is that Frontenac? It is Creve Coeur, yeah.
yeah, so,
Yeah, there
yeah,
used to be a
the-
PNC Bank.
yeah, like Lindbergh, like right there, yeah, Lindbergh and Olive, yeah, you
Right.
have some businesses right there. Like the Grand is right there.
Oh,
That's
this
a
is the one.
memory-
like, right
which
at,
way on Lindbergh?
Yeah, right at Lindbergh and Ladue. So,
Okay,
yeah,
yeah. So the Homestead.
yeah, Homestead,
dispensary.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
But
And
people
we-
were surprised to see that happen. And then, we're going through this sort of the same thing right now with the dispensary wanting to come and all that.
Right, so right now that I know they're having discussions about distance.
Right.
So it's for recreational.
Right.
And that, this is right now, I think
They've already got their medical.
they already
license.
got the
They're up
medical
and
set,
running,
and I think they set those distances the same as alcohol.
yeah. Right, yeah.
When you say they, are you talking about us or Creve Coeur?
Core, because he was referencing Creve Coeur.
I just wanted to be sure, because it sounds a
Yeah.
lot like we're doing, so.
But yeah, I know that you guys are just having those same conversations, so. But I don't know what their final decisions on those things are yet, as far as recreational.
Well,
So-
they're, potential, members for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, they are, and that's why you'll find too, we have members from Frontenac as well, because it's just right close by, or U City, like,
So I don't think Frontenac has have a chamber,
no,
because there are not a lot of businesses in Frontenac. Comparatively.
yeah,
speaking.
compared to
Yeah.
you all. And same with like U City doesn't have one. Overland doesn't have one,
Right,
so sometimes we get members
Mhm.
from there as well. Like we did the ribbon cutting for Costco.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
yeah,
Good, yeah.
yeah, and like Scooter Coffees in Overland, pretty close to you guys, but
Right.
you know, that kind of thing, so.
So what are like the biggest challenges for chambers these days? Like you look forward to grow and to move forward? Is it, you know, are there substitutes for networking that other people have found online, other communities? Is it you're just scared for the next recession, which, you know, closes a lot of your businesses? I mean, what are you most worried about when you think about your organization moving forward?
Well, we're a nonprofit, you know, a membership organization, so, you know, we got to continue to retain our members. One thing that I would say that I've been good at is a lot of the small business owners and small business people that are out there. I'd love to start develop more of the bigger businesses that are around us. Because the more you have those type of businesses in your chamber, one, they obviously have more money to contribute to the community, more money to contribute to the chamber that could allow for more resources.
Yeah, I was noticing that there's not a lot of, besides maybe like a Firestone, I mean, there's not a lot of, in Costco, there's not a lot of national brands. Do they tend to shy away from chambers? Like you don't have McDonald's on here. I feel like they would be joining that to show their commitment to the local region, I thought.
Right. So, and you know, we do have like Bear as a member and like Mercy and AT&T and
Okay.
those type of members we do. We used to have McDonald's and I'm hoping that they'll rejoin because I know that McDonald's here in Olivet changed hands, new ownership. So, and they just did a big build out of in another city. Because I know another chamber they belong to. And so I think they cashed out a lot of money this past year. And so I'm hoping that they're be ready to come back and here soon and rejoin. But that's half the battle too. When I took over in the chamber, I would say we were, you know, it was in transition. You know, they didn't have a leader for a little while. Membership was down and funds were, you know, they were living pretty close to the budget. And so and certain things weren't in place. So there's some other things that I'd like to work on this year. So like I'd like to create some more corporate partnership sponsors. Because if you look at our chamber versus a lot of other ones, we don't have those structures in place. A lot of times right now, we just have the basic memberships and then the sponsorships for all of our events. And those just weren't in place when I got here. So sometimes what I've done at this point is I've just met with some of those bigger companies or members that wanted to really kind of map out their year and try to make a plan with just them. But I would like to change that so that we can really create a more, you know, like in this partnership and showing the community what we're doing with that. So.
So Creek Course, what, about 5 times as big as all that? Yeah. Would you say you have like 5 times the members in Creve Coeur versus all of that?
Yeah, I mean,
You've got, hard to say because you've got people, like you say, from all over the place, but.
yeah, I mean, like I said, we're at 357 as of today. Obviously, there's a lot more businesses out there that there's a lot more potential for growth there. And there are more Creve Coeur businesses than there are Olivet, I would say, in our chamber. I mean, that's probably not a bad average, probably 5 times more or whatever. But I would bet that the percentages are getting closer. Because I used to not feel like I had a lot of Olivet, and I feel like that's grown too. So there's a couple more I'm still planning on signing up, especially all the new ones that'll be opening up here in the near future.
We're certainly hoping that's the case, yeah. We could
Yeah.
have, some
And,
nice facilities.
And, you know, and that's some of the things that we could work on, you know, maybe I'd like to see if I could develop some things for, you know, Carlos or whenever new businesses come in, you know, here's something from the chamber. Here's information on how they can help you. that's a little bit more focused.
That's actually a really good point, because we have a like a word edition of a little business blurb that we have on our website, and we hand it out, send it out to people who are kind of interested in doing some stuff and all of that. It's about demographics and drive times and, that sort of stuff. I don't know if you're aware of it. We'll probably due for a remake of that.
Yep.
Just to spruce it up a little bit, but welcome to use it.
Okay.
Download it on our website anytime. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Is it on your economic?
Yeah.
Page?
And I think, they had it, or it may still be up, in there. I know Jeff Springer had worked on some of the links. I don't know if it was with you or with Nancy prior.
Okay, and I did try to, and I would say this, anytime you go on our site and you look at all of that, if there's things that you would like changed, let me know. When I changed over the site, I tried to update certain things and I know I've updated some of the things with parks at one point. And you guys, Galavet has, I know, done some upgrades as well, so those might be things that want to be highlighted in those community pages when they're done.
Because one thing is, like, when people move to areas, they kind of check different areas out, and St. Louis is like ripe for that. Because like there's so many different neighborhoods, cities, 88 different communities, and it's kind of like not just St. Louis. So good to have that sort of a different flavor of every area. And I think that the chamber can really provide that to people moving in the area too.
Yeah,
Anything we can do to work together on something like that would be advantageous, and I think we'd be open to it. And we'd get the commission members who aren't here to volunteer for that.
that's my other plan is I'm continuing to utilize my committees to do more.
Yeah.
Because I try to go to everything and I can't.
What would be
If I
interesting,
built it all on me, then I'm gonna fail, so.
would be interested in interfacing with your government connections commission, what you call. So you talk to them.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, our Government and Communications Committee. Yeah, because I mean, we don't have to just do the same old things, that's one of the things that last year when Chris was in charge of that, we just tried to make sure we had activity of communication with the cities. So that's whatever that looks like, if that's meet and greets, if that's forums, if that's just city updates at the luncheon. I know that, we usually have a luncheon where we ask for the mayor to give us a city update. That can take on different forms and how we can elaborate. So,
Now, basically though, I guess, talking about the political stuff earlier. The chamber's not really set up to take like political stands on things. It's just more of an informational thing to support businesses and however they can. But you're not really looking to jump on any bandwagon. And I don't know where I'm going with this. But,
yeah, I don't
there's
think
just a lot
we're
of-
in a place right now that, I mean, we definitely, if we found that there was a need to make a voice heard, I mean, we would want to do our part to show up to meetings and those sort of things. Obviously, we're not a political party. We're just here as an advocate. So that's why I said, one of the things that I would like to work on is like a good surveying system of our membership for those type of things, so that we can relay that information to you all. As issues arise, then where this community, the business community stands and.
Right, so basically right now, you'd
Yeah.
say like your government affairs is basically informational, making sure that members of the chamber and members of business are know what's happening with cities, what direction they want to go, et cetera.
Yeah, and sometimes too, it's just simple questions on how to get things done, and they might have questions about signage or something. So sometimes I
Sure.
connect them,
Big one. That's a
that
big
way, or just certain questions they may have, and try to field those questions and keep myself, better educated on those things.
So Carl, you've been patiently waiting there with bated breath. I'm sure you have some
I
comments.
put him to sleep.
Well, no, I was just seeing if, you touched on a few of the questions I was gonna have. I guess, one of the questions I'm gonna say is I've been on the council for 9 years. And I've never seen the chamber say, come before a meeting and request anything or anything like that. And so I guess you kind of answered that in the whole point of not being politically, and that you would if there was something big. So that was one of the questions I was interested in. The other is this survey you're talking about, your survey quality, which seems like what we're trying to do, which is get feedback from our businesses about how Olivet's doing. And so I could see the chamber playing a great role there. And even if you didn't want to come to meetings and politically advocate for anything, you could come and report on the chamber's impression of Olivet and how our processes work for new businesses, et cetera, et cetera. So just some thoughts.
Yeah. Those are good thoughts. And like I said, that's what's nice too about having you all represented at our board meetings as well, because it gives us our board time to also ask some questions and get some feedback. And but more we can work on those systems. I think that's one of the benefits that I found of just increasing the number of meetings that we have a month is I'm just getting more opinions, more feedback about what's going on with people in the chamber. And that's always good information. So, and I'm always open to, like, if it's going to be a time to change things, because I know sometimes I always ask myself that every year, do all the events we do make sense? Do we need to replace them with something else? Is there a way to do it differently?
Greg had a really good point there, because we've actually tried to do a little bit of outreach ourselves. It's kind of like, hey, when you're grabbing a burger at Fallon's, or, you're getting some takeout at Sugar
Yeah.
Fire. And of course, I'm hitting all the food establishments, pumping some gas. Or
Those are
whatever.
good chamber members.
You're trying.
We like them.
Yeah, you try and talk to people and, get a little feedback and stuff like that and take it back to our meetings just to see how we're doing. But it'd be good if you could participate in that sort of thing. And it'd be like what we're trying to do is outreach. And I think you're probably better at it than we are.
Well, I'm never afraid to ask the question, and sometimes it is safer for somebody like me to ask the question, right?
Right.
Because I'm not the city, so
Right.
people just give me their opinions, and because sometimes depending on when they started their business and what their experience was,
Possibly a good icebreaker for you too. Way to get in there. I want to talk about the city, and I'm not from the city, so you can be candid.
yeah. Yeah. Well, none of us are perfect, and we're all learning how to do it better. And that's the good thing is I feel like we are getting better, and we're all growing too, which is also exciting. These Olivet, we just celebrated your 90th anniversary or so. And you're still growing, which is a testament to the area. Same with Creve Coeur, they're both growing.
We think what we've done in the last just a few years, really, there's been an acceleration of growth here. Commercially, residentially, last 20 years. I mean, I've lost count, but I'm thinking there's probably since about 2000, there's probably been about close to 400 infill lots happening within all of that. And you've got about somewhere in 2,700 home sites. So it's a good proportion of a rebirth of residential real estate that's happening here. And a lot of those people have moved in. We're always asking, well, it's great to have a really nice house here, wonderful community, but where are the amenities? And those sort of things are starting to happen too. So that's really good.
Yeah. Because I used to ask, like, I remember when at one point I was talking to Councilwoman Missy Waldman. I was like, there's one thing I've noticed about Olivet. I go, when I first started working at the chamber, I just noticed all the different charities when I drive down Olivet that belong in Olivet. I go, why is that? And I don't know if she had perfect reason why. I shouldn't necessarily know why, but I just found that really interesting. You know, a lot of good charities. They're in Olivet. It's interesting that, and I think it's probably the location, is what she said, is probably like that she found, because it's like right there on the cusp of the highways, so people who need those services, they can have access to them while also still, you know. That's just one of those random things that I
Yeah.
noticed, you know.
Actually, something I've never really thought of, but yeah, it's,
Good amount. I mean, Alzheimer's, and Ed, which was the old Encada, the Y is now here. And then,
Some counseling services.
mhm.
I used, because in youth ministry, like, oh, these,
A lot of stuff that
I
was
try to be
invented.
pay attention of those things, because they're services that people need. So,
well, we've covered a lot of topics here and we got a few things to think about in the future, just which is good. Really happy to have you here and
oh, thanks.
we had a good discussion.
Yeah.
Carlos, did you have anything? that
No,
you
no,
wanna
I
add, or-
appreciate Tom taking the time to speak with them, and like, you know, one of this, part of this is we're getting into our budgetary process, and a goal here is to, you know, encourage the council for us to be more proactive with the chamber. Again, our participation is based on how well we also participate.
Well, and that's what I would say, like, the more you can participate, the more you're gonna get out of it. You know, and we say that to our members, and that's true as well with the cities. Because even if like the mayor can't be there, if a council person could be there, or just some representation can be there. For one, it just continues to show your care for that community, but it also allows you to hear from that community, you know, in different settings. And and continue to also make those contacts, right? Like sometimes people move down the street and stuff like that as they expand, and it's good for them to know somebody when their company's expanding, when they're thinking about, do I want to stay where I'm at? Do I want to move down Olive or whatever? And I'm not trying to say, it's just, you know, that your facility is the best, right? So it's always good to be in the right place at the right time, and you don't always know when that is. So you just try to be present. And
There's a lot of value there.
yeah, and you know, and when I started, I always have the same philosophy I had when I was doing youth ministry, and that was, you know, people don't care what you have to say until they know you care. So it was my job to show my members that I care about their success and what's going on with them, and to listen to them. And I think that's, and to be authentic and genuine about it. And I feel like that's why we've been growing and doing more things. And we have a lot to do, and we have a lot more to do. So I'm excited about that. And I'm also, I feel like I have a lot to learn too. So I look forward to maybe having lunch with you guys or something, and going over some of those ideas to streamline maybe some communication. And so,
Sounds
thank
good.
you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Thanks
being
again,
here.
Tom.
Thanks. I'll
Great.
let you all finish your meeting.
All right.
I think we might be done.
That's about it. I think-
Yeah, really can't look at minutes or anything else without a quorum here, but
If you get a chance, the latest Business Journal has an article on U City, or I think it was in the Post, about confirmation on the Deerbirds. I think that's on their agenda tonight.
okay.
And then they list a variety of other tenants that are taking place, which is Chipotle, Chick-fil-A, King, Panera, and a bank, or Chase. I think they said Chase.
Chase Bank,
Mhm.
okay.
So,
Right,
Just an FYI on that. And
because I see the structures going up on that side, so
Mhm.
on the south side there. And I understand Tuesday morning's closing.
Correct. And we sat down with representatives of Bianco, because Party City is also in bankruptcy. Not,
Yeah,
this one, our site not tentatively set or to close, but to talk with them about ways we can kind of coordinate, work with each other. If we get to a point, we're looking at, you know, the upcoming vacancy, other vacancies. And, you know, the traffic and landscaping. Been a long time since they've done, some outside investment in there. So we had a discussion about that. A couple of other things just to keep you informed. So Easy Storage, they're moving along, including the foundations. Greg Yowitz gave a 5-year update to the council regarding their tax increment financing. And he kind of laid out a schedule of when things are coming in, permitting and anticipated occupancies. He has to meet a substantial completion by 2024. That's moving quickly. So
Oh, yeah.
in there, and hopefully by the end of this month, we'll have a lot better idea of retail anchor in an office anchor. In there.
The end of March.
Correct.
Okay.
That's
It's the end of-
critical.
Yeah, the end of this month's tomorrow.
So,
Jumping ahead.
Correct. So for him, that they're pretty critical. Hopefully things go well. I don't anticipate any issues in there. Then the other thing, just that you're aware, because you may see it on the council agenda. So the Opus Group is selling the development project and property to another group called Balboa. They're out of California, and they have several multifamily developments in the St. Louis area. And what we know, I mean, Opus, made it known early on that they're usually they're the builders, and then as soon as they're done with the building, they turn over the property. And in this case, they're just moving that ahead in there, and they have a relationship with this group called Balboa. They'll be on the council agenda tomorrow, kind of give a little bit more information. And the reason they have to go to council in this process is the way the developer agreement was laid out. It was specific to the Opus Group. In this case, they're just redoing the development agreement to reflect Balboa. There's no change in any of the anticipated, because they were doing a chapter 100, in which they would get the retail sales tax exemption, and that's the same thing that will continue. And then they were doing a couple of contributions to the city as part of the project. One is for the improvements at Price and all in there, and those will continue.
Is there any possibility of doing it like a time frame to have the development started, finished?
I don't know. I mean, I think
we haven't done that sort of thing, and having looked at some Easy Storage and some of the other things that have been slow to get going. I mean, even before that, even though they didn't ask for anything, like the bank sat on it for years.
Yeah, well, and they kind of gave us an idea. I don't believe that there's anything incorporated in the developers agreement. I'll have to check on that. We did discuss that a bit. But for right now, their schedule, or Balboa's schedule, is by May, they should be completed with their financing, with the hope of starting permitting and construction by November.
It's essentially the same type of development. Any changes? to
No
it?
changes to the number of units or the exterior or anything like that, or the site planning.
So Carlos, we've got big developments in U City. Costco, now Dearborn. We've got ours on the other side. And then eventually the old Monsanto campus will become something humongous. Is it our place, or does it make sense at an upcoming meeting to kind of just relook at our footprint of what's potentially still available? Or to think at, do we have any other potential areas of development we should be thinking of? I mean, we'll always have the onesie twosies as stores come and go, or the dispensary comes in or things like that, but should we as a group be thinking larger, more strategic about potential things, or is that outside our purview?
No, I think it's reasonable, and some of it is on the amount of resources and staffing to assist in that process. The comprehensive plan will help us, give us some guidance to go back to the 5-year plan in there and make that determination. One of the things envisioned in the 5-year plan was to find possibility, like here's the site and here's a couple of things that could go into the site to give us some guidance. Then, staff will find well, we haven't gotten to that point yet.
Okay.
And it will be a different change for us. We tend to have been more reactive than proactive. The other thing I look at, from my end, or on the positive note, is that we've been more selective too. In there in doing more of a complicated urban type of project as opposed to the strip retail and all that. I think it's hard.
Yeah.
But we do know, with, depending on the economy and the market, that there's still a lot of strong interest in all of that. But there's a lot of concern about the number of units and we've heard, in discussions about the comprehensive plan. So it's going to be a balance to see, if people do still support density as a means to try to, we've been very lucky of getting like unique type of retailers as opposed to the regular boxes. And that it's hard, that's but it's helped out. I mean, Sugar Fire, Fallon's, Plant Haven, Pick and Craft, or in those type of places. And, I think distinguish us from that's one of the goals of that comp plan.
Yeah, that's
Hopefully,
a real good point to go ahead and look at, take a breather, see where we've come, or potentially we're gonna go. Cause when you say you don't know what's gonna happen with Tuesday morning, it's gonna be vacated, and being in bankruptcy doesn't mean they're closing. They could hang on for years at Party City. But those are the two anchors of the Bianco property. And they've done some work on that fairly recently. They've spruced up the outside a little bit, but is there something potentially there? Because that could be a large footprint
it
property.
is the issue that we have, but as you get more new, nicer, shinier product, higher ceilings, ample docks and bays, and it puts us in a disadvantage competitively. So it's trying to find, these unique users that are palatable too, because, it's interesting, and I think, one of their positives of that center is that those buildings are pretty close to the street and pretty visible, and we got a lot of traffic. The Creve Coeur kind of faced the same thing, like with where the QT was going to be. I mean, those centers,
Those,
they were pretty tired.
Yeah. And they cleared it out.
Yeah.
What's gonna happen with it? It'd be interesting. It'd be a good time to go ahead and look at that again. And, I guess somewhat in conjunction with the comprehensive plan. I don't know exactly how we'd interface with that, but it's kind of like, do you wait for them to do something first, or do we have input during?
And that was one of the things that, we made effort to give them a call and try to coordinate something just to kind of talk. And again, it's just to build that relationship and then.
I mean, with the consultants.
With Bianco, that
Oh,
was,
Bianco,
we didn't
okay.
involve the consultants, but we know that they will be, a stake, what we call it, like a.
Well, I'm not talking about that specifically, just in general, but yeah. Just understanding how this whole process is gonna work.
So. And that would be the last thing is we're kicking off the comprehensive plan update. Rob's the point person here for the Economic Development Commission. On their next meeting is the first meeting is actually next week on Thursday. In there, and then they have a schedule of events that they're planning. And then they'll talk with the advisory committee on that next week, and hopefully we'll be in full gear in that process. An interesting fact that had more information, but given that it's just us, and you may be aware that roughly about 48% of Olivet residents moved here since 2010. That's pretty amazing.
Wow.
It is.
lot of new people.
That is, and the thing is, because we know so many people around here, they're still here.
Well, and when we are at a meeting, the first thing we hear is I've been an Olivet resident since. And this.
You know, nothing good comes after that. Right?
That's all I have.
Thank you.
Okay.
Greg,
Mr.
do you have
Carl, was there
anything?
anything that?
Well, the only thing is, I assume everyone heard about Barb's retirement, so just to give you a little update on that process. We're currently working on the job posting. We expected, and we were trying to work on a very accelerated schedule, so anything goes wrong, it'll fall apart. Right, we've just scheduled everything between everyone's vacations and holidays and everything to do this as quickly as possible. So I don't want to make any promises about how quick it may happen because something could unforeseeably come up, but we're trying to accelerate this as much as we can. We hope to have the job posting out within a week or so. We'll wait about 4 weeks and see what applications we have at that point. So that's a rough schedule of about as far as I'm willing to predict at this point. So,
So if the stars don't align and she retires and there's not a new city manager named, what happens?
well, we're gonna have Darren be the interim.
Okay.
And there will probably be a period such as that. It's just how long it is, so. But regardless, we would find someone, we would have someone on staff be the interim manager in the meantime, so.
Thank you very
I
much.
got nothing else really. I mean, good information as always. Tom was good though. I thought,
Tom's been a
Yeah.
really good person to work with and
Yeah.
I think there's a lot more we can do. For all of
Yeah,
us.
she's not slowing down at all, so maybe you guys better gear up for the next couple of months. Yeah.
gentlemen,
Good night, Greg.
all right.
Yeah. Bye-bye.